Basically, I missed a chapter. That's fine. It's not like Choso died, and it's not like, I don't know, Todo came in. But the Viber Slap goes crazy. Todo can go about 50 times a second, although depending on how much he gives up as a binding vow, he can extend the range. And he can also do it as many times as he wants, or as little times as he wants. You know, Choso dying was kind of expected, to be honest. Everyone else was saved by Todo. Shout out Todo. And him and Yuji have a 100% win rate, so should be pretty good. But there's one catch. And that came at the end, right? Because obviously the fake out, really cool, really hype. You read it, okay? But you also read Gojo. Gojo's back. Sorry, I just want to whisper it because I can hear it and it sounds. Anyway, Gojo's back. Maybe. Most likely. Probably. Whether it's his ghost, as a lot of people think, or whether he's actually back and he'll take care of Sukuna, pack him up. Or maybe, because when they said domain expansion, you can't really tell. You don't know who said it. Was it Sukuna? Or was it Gojo Shadow, which is actually Gojo? Or maybe they both said it at the same time. Or maybe it was even Yuji's domain, which is causing him to get that PTSD and see Sukuna. But if they both said it at the same time, that would have to mean that Gojo has the open domain so that it doesn't break. That way they can continue to fight, and he can support Yuji and Todo in the fight. Either way, I mean, it's been almost a year since we last seen Gojo alive, or technically not. And it's about time he came back. Okay, a lot of people have been speculating he'll be back. I mean, he's back, right? In one way or another, he's back. So we were right. Now it's just a question of, is Gege really that big of a troll? Does he hate Gojo that much? And I guess we'll find out in a couple days. Really hyped. But I digress. Sukuna's cooked, either way. So he's either going to activate the merger or something's going to happen. But basically, I think we're reaching the end. Right? If the merger happens, that'll be another little arc, if you will. But the whole everyone v Sukuna is wrapping up, basically. A lot of people think maybe Yuta came in with the 6 eyes, and now he can do it with the copy technique, and it's basically another Gojo with more curse energy than Gojo would have, plus the efficiency, which would make it even more than what Sukuna would have. Because even with Sukuna, his efficiency, his curse energy dwindled to about Yuta's level, but his efficiency was good enough that, well, he lost his reverse curse technique. He didn't have any more domains. After the black flashes, he figured it out and all that. But for the most part, he was pretty much as drained as Gojo, where they both couldn't really do RCT at the same time. Or RCT at the same efficiency that they used to. Even though Sukuna still had like the same amount of curse energy as Yuta, right? Simply because of the way that, I guess, reverse curse energy works. But now imagine Yuta with his amount, plus the efficiency, the 6 eyes, having the limitless, having all the other techniques, fully manifesting Riku, which will give him more curse energy. I mean, at that point, he would be unstoppable. And in that situation, we could say that his students surpassed Gojo, but that's just because it's another Gojo, right? It's like, it's just another 6 eyes user with the Infinity who has RCT, which, by the way, a lot of people say, oh, Gojo's having the second awakening. When did he have the first? He never did, right? A lot of people want to mention that when he first got stabbed in the head and all that, and he it's like, that's the first awakening. What did he really learn then? Nothing. All he did was, well, something. It was reverse curse technique, right? It's RCT, but that's it, right? How is that an awakening? It's only the fact that he learned red, and on top of that, purple, and then he became one of the strong. But that's the thing. He's like, he was now, Toichi was looking at what is now the strongest sorcerer in all of Jujutsu history, basically. But even before that, he was already the strongest, right? Him and Geto were already the strongest out there. They were already special grades. And for the most part, the base of Limitless, which is, you know, the Infinity, not being able to touch Gojo, was already enough to make him one of the strongest. And he had blue, like, pretty well. He had the maximum output and everything, right? All he needed was, and he was already working on the red, right? It's not like, oh, he wouldn't have figured out if Toji had, no, he was working on it. he was trying to learn RCT, and it wasn't until he was almost dead that he figured out RCT. But that's it. And because he figured out RCT, and he already had the inkling on how to do red, he shot him with a red. Okay, good. Now I put them together, and I hit a purple, which is also something that's been mentioned, or that he mentioned that past Six Eyes users who had RCT had come up with purple. Because he didn't come up with it on the spot. He's like, oh yeah, people before me, you know my technique because it's old. It's happened multiple times. But because of that, the instructions are more clear. And even amongst the ones who know, very few know about purple, which means other Six Eyes users have done purple before. And so he unlocked purple, but then even then, after that, he learned how to activate his technique like 24/7, right? He learned how to detect things. He's been working on poisons, refining his RCT, constantly using the refreshing on his own brain to always have the Six Eyes activated. Then I would assume either he worked on his domain or he didn't have a domain already or whatever. So there's a lot of things that he did afterwards that would continue making him stronger. Perfecting red, probably doing a better purple, because that's another thing. The purple, the original purple, I assume, is the one he does in the 200%, right? Where he has to do all the signs, all the chants. And then the better you get, the better the sorcerer, it's subtraction. So he then got it to a point where it's just one hand open, one hand around it to do purple and no chance. So he had to get to that level. He still had to train. Obviously, given that he's a genius and all this, whatever, a prodigy, it probably happened pretty quickly, but it happened after the Toji fight. So even after a Toji fight, he was still getting stronger. So him saying, oh, he awakened, he's not even at his peak yet. When he became an adult and everything, then he was at his peak. And even then, there was other techniques that we hadn't seen, like the Shadow Clone stuff and all that. And the way he fought with Blue, and the way he got buffer, and the way he changed the condition on his domain. So he was still getting stronger. If anything, he hasn't awakened truly. Until we see something that apparently no other Six Eyes user had done, unless they needed to, see the afterlife and then be revived, and that's how they activate it, right? Like lime green, right? Unless we see something like that, or he finally gets the open domain or something like that, he wouldn't have truly been fully awakened. Also, if it's Gojo with the domain, it's probably the full domain. Because there's the thing about Sukuna using the one-handed domain, which is the same sign as Gojo's. And it doesn't seem like you just choose willy-nilly what sign you want, right? Because even for the Enmaten, if he could just be like, people say, oh, the sign doesn't matter, it could be whatever it wants. Why can't he change the Enmaten for the word cutting slash to just a one-handed thing? He couldn't, because it had to be that, because it's already established or anything. But everyone has a two-handed symbol. Gojo's the only one who has it one-handed. And the fact that it can be copied, if it's curse technique specific, he shouldn't be able to copy it. Or else everyone would pick a one-handed symbol. But it has to be two-handed. Which kind of tells me that Gojo is using a binding vow. And out of the only binding vows that Gojo did, which is none, he didn't do any binding vows. But if he did one, it would be for his domain. But that he uses every time. Which means he's giving up something to be able to use it with one hand. If that's true, obviously this is speculation, but if that's true, and there's a two-handed variation where he doesn't give up anything, it's a little bit more refined, that means he would literally beat Sukuna in the 1v1 from the start, just with a domain. Even if it's a closed versus an open. Because the open is more refined, Sukuna's is very strong, and yet it was a tie within a closed domain of a one-handed opening from Gojo. So we'll see. Again, a lot of speculation. We don't know. People like to say it's not Gojo or even Yuta or someone has his eyes. If Gojo loses one eye, no more limitless, so it's basically useless. Or maybe he's half efficient because he technically still would have one. But say he gives one eye to Yuji, like they take it out, he gives it up by having it removed, but now he can give it to someone else. And Yuji's missing his right eye right now, and the one that's covered is Gojo's right eye. So if you want to say that, sure. But it'll be like some Naruto with the Uchiha and the the Senju, where getting cells from both people would make them super strong. Whereas like the Six Eyes users, or the Six Eyes DNA, combined with that of Sukuna's lineage, basically, would combine to make something super powerful. I don't know. Then again, it could just be the merger and Sukuna's actually cooked and that. I mean, right now, if Gojo comes back with 6 eyes, everything, like nothing changed about him. He's cooking Sukuna, right? He's been being beat up by Yuji, by black flashes, which hit the soul. Which, by the way, Gojo could hit the soul, right? You just have to be able to see the soul. And he's seen it multiple times. Well, probably only like 2 times. But he can see it, period. Well, 1 time is enough. Like at the beginning, when he saw that Yuji was fused with Sukuna, he's like, yeah. He basically looked at him, he's like, yeah, I can see, like, he can see the 2 souls in there. And then when he saw Megumi's soul and Sukuna's soul, were like little 2 orbs. So he can see the soul, which means he could hit the soul, which again, I think he did against Urume when he hit her. Or him. We don't know. Fanboy. And they were injured. And then they RCT'd it, and it still hurts afterwards. Why? Because it'd be soul damage. And since they can't see the outline of their soul, they can't see the soul, they wouldn't be able to heal it. Therefore, that it still hurts. Because the soul is damaged. Again, speculation. I just wish there was more confirmation for a lot of things. There's a lot of things that have been up in there. A lot of people say Kenjaku's gonna come back. Gojo with the stitches on his forehead. That's just ridiculous. I don't know. Anything's possible. You know. A lot of people have been also realized that there's the end of chapter thing on the penultimate page. Second to last page. Instead of the last page. And some might have speculated maybe they're flipped. They weren't flipped because he coughs up blood and then there's the blood stains on the next one. So it's in order. But perhaps it was the last chapter or the last page and then they sneaked in the first panel or the first page of the next chapter. That would have been the one that's coming up, 261. Maybe that happened. And either, well, obviously I don't think they would have not realized, oh, we have to take it out, right? Because they still printed it out. It's probably set already. Or something like that. We don't know. Either way, I'm excited to see if it's truly Gojo. I swear we switched to Hakari Urume fight. And then we're on break. Oh, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a problem. And he can't do the world cutting slash. So Gojo's safe. So he's safe, right? Outside of just having everything still. If Sukuna doesn't have that world cutting slash, then there's no way for him to win. Anyway. We'll just wait for next chapter. Like if you liked it, subscribe for next chapter. And leave comments on what you think might happen. That's it.